I'm a big believer in the importance of telling stories. Storytelling is such a sticky medium. It is the way to make your points, your key ideas most memorable. People will remember your story far longer than your key points. So telling great stories throughout your book is really important.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name is Rick Nusky. I'm the host of this wonderful experience. And for everybody out there who is tuning in regularly and providing feedback to us, thank you so very much for supporting the show. Now, I'm on the line with CATHY FYOCK. How are you, Cathy?
I'm great. Great.
We were talking a little bit about strategies for entrepreneurs, and the topic of today's call, Cathy, is very interesting because it gives entrepreneurs and existing small to medium-sized business owners, I guess any business in matter of fact, a way to create a better type of strategy. Now, before we jump into the core of the call, Cathy, love to learn a little bit more about yourself. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself with the My Future Business audience?
Well, I've had an interesting career. It has not been a straight line. I started out as a music teacher, was my very first, and then they were laying off teachers, so I was competing against others with more experience when I got out of school. So I stumbled into human resources, and my last corporate role was at Kentucky Fried Chicken here in Louisville, Kentucky, and then they went through a reorganization. So once again, I had to reinvent myself, and I became a human resources consultant. And in that space, I found that speaking and writing were the two key tools that helped me promote my business and grow my business. Fast forward, I left my business and was working for someone else, but really wanted to get back to my own business. And so I was thinking, what am I going to do? I don't know. Well, I get a call from my chapter of the National Speakers Association. And he says, Cathy, I heard a rumor that you wrote one of your books in less than 6 weeks. And I said, well, actually, I wrote 4 of my 5 books at the time in less than 6 weeks.
That's amazing.
He said, oh my gosh, this was the question that changed my life. He said, do you have a process? And I thought about it for a moment, and I thought, yeah, I do have a process. He said, would you be willing to give a program for a chapter about your process? And I said, oh, yeah, I would love to do that. He said, but before you say yes, we have 2 of our chapter members who are working on their books. Would you be willing to coach them using your process and then give your program? And I said, you had me at give a program. I'm totally in. I'm totally in. So I started coaching these 2 women who were friends of mine, and pretty quickly they said, have you ever thought about being a book coach? And I said, no. Is there such a thing? Is there a need? And they said, yeah, there are a lot of people out there who want to write a book, need to write a book to establish their credibility, to have more visibility, to establish their thought leadership, but they don't know how to get started, or they get started and they get stuck.
Yes.
There's definitely a need. So long story short, I became a book coach. And that was, I gave that talk in 2013. And by January of 2014, I had launched my new business as a book coach, and I've been doing it full time ever since.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing, Cathy. Now, I know, oftentimes I speak with some amazing people who are involved with the process of ghostwriting and things like that, but we don't specifically talk about them as coaches. This is something a little bit different, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I believe, especially for folks who are speakers or speaking as a component of their business model, I think speakers need to write their books, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, it helps you clarify your thinking around your topic. Also, when people buy your book at the back of the room, they expect it to have your voice. they're buying the book in many cases because they've heard you speak and they love the way you communicate. And so oftentimes ghostwriters don't capture that. I guess the other big thing is that ghostwriters are really expensive. And
Yes.
unless you have deep pockets, it's really not viable for most entrepreneurs. So the whole idea of writing your book has been something that many people dream of. And so I help coach them to write their own books.
Yeah. And I sit here thinking about this because I'm one who's in that bucket, if you like. You want to start a book, but and you have reams of ideas and experiences that you want to put down on paper, but life gets in the way. Things get busy. Is this almost like also an accountability partner process that you have?
Absolutely. Many of my folks hire me because they theoretically could write this book on their own, but without some urgency into the mix, a book will always be important, but it will never be urgent.
Yeah.
And unless you hire a coach and it's a 6 month contract, then you know you better get working on it. And then if we have accountability calls every week or every other week, then people are doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those touch points would make a great deal of difference for a lot of people. What sort of timeline do you find that most of your clients take to go from zero book to publishing?
Well, it depends, of course, but I have had some of my authors do it in as little as 6 weeks. Most do not. Most of my authors take about 6 months to
Okay.
write the book, just because most of my clients are really busy entrepreneurs. They're out there speaking, they're out there doing their business, they're coaching, they're consulting, and they only have so much time to write. And if you're going to do it yourself, you've got to sit down and write it. so, so yeah, 6 months is usually about the timeline that most of my folks find work for them.
So many questions I have for you. I wonder, in your corporate past as a HR person, have you taken any of the, I guess, the structure in that sort of environment and applied it to your business?
In many ways, I guess I have. I never, though, thought of myself as a writer. I never liked to write. I still don't like to write, which surprises a lot of folks. They think, oh, well, of course, you've written all these books. I've written 9 books now. You think, well, of course you've written 9 books. You like to write. It's like, no, I don't like to write. I like what writing does for my business. And that's the reason I write and I continue to write because it's been probably the number one strategy for getting me out there and getting me booked as a speaker, consultant, expert in the HR space and now in the book space.
Yeah, and that's very revealing because a lot of times when talking to book authors, they talk about it, but they skirt around the edges where you've come straight forward and said, this is a strategy. This is the entire business basis. This is all about getting you out there, using this as a tool in your business. That's absolutely wonderful.
It is absolutely a tool. And some folks think that they just write the book and then it's going to do the magic. Well, it's really a tool. It's like a magic wand. You have to know how to use the magic wand in
Yes.
order to get the magic from it. So that's where a lot of my authors fall down. And that's why I wrote my most recent book, The Speaker Author, Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. It's really to help authors think through and how to monetize the book that they have invested time and money in writing. This gives them the ideas about how to get it out there in the world and really have it do some hard work for you.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing. I wonder, does this apply to having a book across any industry sector, any niche? Do you think?
Yes, I have clients in all different walks of life and all different kinds of businesses. I'm just I always kind of look at my bookshelf and the books that I have lying around. I have a speech coach. I have a sales coach. I have, this guy is a CPA who speaks to CPAs about how to be better speakers. His book is Taking the Numb Out of Numbers. Um, I have a woman who was a West Point graduate. She was in one of the first women's classes to graduate. I have a millennial who speaks about millennials in the workplace. So lots of different topics, lots of different areas of expertise. But that's the fun thing about being a book coach is I get to meet all these fascinating people, hear their stories, and then help them figure out how to distill it into a book that's going to drive their business.
As that core person, having exposure to so many wonderful different individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs with different ideas, do you find yourself offering input to clients about, hey, look, out of this industry sector, this is what they tried? And do you like cross pollinate the ideas in different types of books? Is that your
Absolutely.
process? Yep.
That yeah, it's not really part of the process
Yep.
as much as it's just something that comes organically out of the coaching process. I have group coaching calls, so even if I'm working with someone one on one, they have a chance to meet the other authors within the writing community, and many times we do share leads or contacts. We've had authors write forwards for other authors. We've had authors provide quotes for other authors and open doors
Forwards
for
and
other
things.
authors. So it's been really great fun, yes, to build that community. So my coaching practice is more than just me working with clients one-on-one. It's building that sense of community so that authors can learn from one another and find out the things that are really working today because the publishing industry is changing so rapidly
Yes.
and to really know what's going to work for your book. It takes people who have boots on the ground right now and are out there doing the work of marketing their books. And that's the beauty of having a community of folks who are coming together to share how they're doing that and to support one another too.
Yes, absolutely. Now, in terms of, you talked a little earlier, Kathy, about going to the back of the room and buying a book because it was in the speaker's voice. That's what they're looking for. This led
Mhm.
me to the thought and a question about grammar and punctuality. Is this important in books, or are we foregoing this need for grammar and punctuality as time goes by?
No, we are not. We are not. Now, well, let me just say, first of all, I am not an editor.
Hmm.
I am not good at those things. I have typos. I have grammar issues. Yes. So here's the good news. To be a good writer, you just need to have a great editor.
Yeah.
So do not bypass the professional book editor process. That is an imperative, especially for many of my authors really don't like to write or don't care to write. They would much be rather, they would rather be working in their area of expertise. Um, so you don't have to learn, you don't have to go back to English class here. And that's the good news. You just need to hire a really good editor. And then there's a process too that I like to suggest to my authors so that they have their book reviewed by an editorial board before it goes to an editor. And these are folks who are representative of your targeted market, your client, and who can read the book and say, this wasn't really clear to me, or I didn't quite understand,
Hmm.
or this was too much detail. And giving that kind of feedback is really helpful before it goes to the professional editor.
Yeah, thank you. I often think from a, I guess, a practical perspective, I'm short on time or free time at least to start putting pen to paper. Is it necessarily the best way to actually go about this is pen and paper, or do you think straight into Word documents or, dictating audibly into some sort of software? How does it go nowadays?
Well, it's really interesting. It really varies by author, but I'm finding that it really is very personal as to what works best for you. Some of my authors dictate their books. Some of their authors handwrite their books.
Yes.
And then some do like a strange combination. Some will handwrite and then dictate, or they'll handwrite and then use the keyboard. Some of my authors will just go straight to the keyboard. I'm there to help the author figure out the best strategy for them. If they are a natural talker, if they love to get up in front of a group, if the words just come
Just
spilling out of
flow.
their mouth, then
Yep.
maybe that's the way to get it down.
Yep.
You're still going to have to do quite a bit of editing before you even send it to an editor, but that may be the fastest and most effective way to have it sound like your voice.
Do you have connections with other people like editors that can help connect people that come to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an editor, what I do provide is sort of developmental editing. I've learned that it's called, which
Yeah.
is, does it all sort of hang together? Does it flow? Does it work well? But beyond that, yes, I have professional editors that I can call on. And then I have a team of different publishers. I'm not a publisher,
Hmm.
but I work with different publishers, and many of them are sort of in this self-publishing space or hybrid publishing space.
Yes.
Some of my authors do traditional publishing.
Hmm.
I think I only have one client right now that's specifically going toward a traditional contract. Most of my authors find that self-publishing or hybrid publishing offers them more of the ability to use their book as that business tool. And that's one of the things, as I'm vetting these resources for my authors, I'm really wanting to find out some key things. I want to make sure my authors retain their copyright. They
Yeah.
retain their intellectual property. Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
non-negotiable for
Hmm.
me. They need to have creative control. So I don't want to have a publisher that's suggesting a different name or title for the book or different focus or something different than what I'm doing, because I'm using this book as a tool for my business, which is different than what you would write a book to sell lots of books out there.
Yes.
So, understanding that. And then I want my authors to be able to buy their books at cost. So most books, um, are $3 to $4 a book through Amazon Publishing, the KDP option. And you need to be able to be paying cost for your book. Some contracts, though, will have authors paying um, ridiculous prices for their
Yes.
books. Sometimes it's almost full retail. Sometimes it's, wow, it's 30% off retail, or maybe they'll get really wild and crazy and go to 50% off retail. But that's still, you're losing a lot of margin there, and you're not able to leverage the book and use it in the way that you would like. So that's one of the reasons I strongly suggest my authors find the right publisher that's going to be the right fit for them as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's great feedback for everybody who's on the call today. Now, I know we're using this as essentially a marketing tool. And
Mm-hmm.
in marketing, we always talk about, or a lot of people talk about, I suspect, the story approach. What are some of the different types of coaching that you would give people? And do you talk about the storyline approach when they're creating their
Yes,
books?
yes. I said that the only reason that somebody today wants to buy your book is because it has your story, your experience. If you're just going to regurgitate, all the other thought leaders, other people can, buy those books and read them. So there's no point in writing something if you're not going to write from your story, from your experience, from your insights. So I'm a big believer in the importance of telling stories. We also know that storytelling is such a sticky medium. It is probably the way to make your points, your key ideas most memorable.
Yes.
People will remember your story far longer than your key points. So the whole idea of telling great stories throughout your book to illustrate your key points is really important. So yes, I stress that
Yes.
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback. Now, inside of the book, we've got the story. It's laid out. It's a wonderful journey. How do you lock in this I guess this moment in time, knowing that we're using it as a marketing tool, Kathy, to say, hey, here's the call to action? Is that in the back cover? How do you go about that part?
Sometimes the call to action is spread throughout the book. Sometimes it's really introduced as a lot of authors in their first chapter or introduction sort of build the business case for this idea, this process, this methodology, um, and then usually have a call to action again at the end. But it really depends on, um, well, a number of things. How comfortable the reader is with the subject matter. Are they already sold on the idea? Do they need to be sold on the benefits and so forth? Um, usually we talk about some of that structuring as we're first starting out and I'm working with an author for the first time. In fact, I think the key strategy meeting that I have with an author at the very onset of the coaching assignment is the most important aspect of the whole process.
Yeah, because that would be the moment in time, which I guess is a good segue into my next question, Kathy, is
Hmm.
about their mindset. Is this quite a revealing moment in time when you first meet a prospective author, and what do you say about mindset when they come to you?
It's interesting. Mindset, some people are just, they've been thinking about this their whole life and they're ready to tell their story. Some people have been doing a lot of speaking and so they've been articulating their message and it's just a matter of getting it on paper.
Hmm.
But for some folks, especially new entrepreneurs, it may be quite difficult to really understand what their message, their core message is, how to attach value to that, and how to present it in a way that is going to help them market themselves. So those are some of the things that we do when I'm starting to work with a client. I really want to understand not just their strategic plan for their business. I want to know the strategic plan for the book, and
Yep.
the two need to be really linked together so that one is supporting the other.
Now, and do you meet like weekly? What's the frequency that you contact somebody?
Um, it varies. It's usually weekly at first because I want to make sure that they're in the groove. They're not hitting unforeseen obstacles or roadblocks.
Yep.
But once they get going and once they develop some confidence, then it's every other week or sometimes even every third week, um, depending upon many of my folks are traveling and they have crazy busy schedules. So we just work to see what is best for them.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, I'd love to talk a little bit about your 9 books. I'm wondering if you could tell us about your latest one, and let's
Yeah,
journey into that space for a little while.
I would love to. I would love to. Well, my newest book is The Speaker Author. I co-authored it with Lois Kramer.
Hmm.
Lois is a fabulous individual. She is a sales coach for speakers, and that really is her focus.
Yep.
And when I was thinking about writing this book, I really wanted to help my authors figure out, you got the book written, now what do you do with it? How do you leverage it? How do you monetize it?
Yeah.
And I thought about some of the things that Lois talks about. I've had the opportunity to hear her speak many times. She's come to our chapter of the National Speakers Association here in Kentucky. And so I reached out to her, and actually she was my client. She did her first book with me. And so I called Lois and I said, Lois, I've got this great idea for the book. Are you interested in writing another book? And she said, absolutely not.
A bit of a shock.
Yeah, yeah. I said, okay, well, Lois, can you just hear me out? And she said, okay. She said, but that was painful. That was hard work. And I said, I know, Lois, but I have a proposal for you. So I was basically proposing to her that I would write the first draft. She would then inject her wonderful ideas and client examples and
Hmm.
all of that, but
Yep.
it would be more of an editing process than an initial writing process. So after she thought about it, she called me back. She said, I'm in.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal at all, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, so it's been a great partnership. We've had so much fun together. And she brings the best of, how to position you as a speaker. And I really bring the best of how you position you as an author to grow your business. So we're the dynamic duo.
That's amazing. And what's happening now? Are you writing anything new? What's on the
Well,
horizon?
we just wrote this. This just came out this year.
Hmm.
So it's still very new.
Very
In fact,
fresh.
we did a relaunch and we it became an international #1 bestseller
Oh,
on
very good.
Amazon. We're very excited about that. And also, I just saw an article on LinkedIn that it was named as one of the top 20 marketing books for 2019.
That's very nice.
So very, very excited about that. But what I love about it, it's really, really practical. And some of the things at first I was thinking, doesn't everybody kind of know this? Some of the tips in it are pretty basic.
Yep.
But yet I was doing a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to talk to one of the attendees, and she said, I couldn't believe that some of the things you were saying, she said, I never thought of. They're so basic, but why didn't I think of them? Things like when you speak, you should hold your book.
Of course.
And you should hold it close to your face, and you should hold it so people can see the whole thing.
And point to pertinent words on the cover.
Yes, and you should read from your book, because every time you read something from your book, people go, oh my gosh, that has all that good stuff in it. I might need to get that.
Yeah.
And yet I've seen some authors just blow it so completely. I went to an author conference once, and an author was speaking. She pulled out her phone and she said, I've been tired of traveling around with my book, so I've got it on my phone, so I'm just going to read it here. She missed all the opportunity to have all of this great marketing of her holding her book, reading from her book, showing value in her book, because there's something about holding it and positioning it that is exceedingly powerful.
The psychology of selling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So it's doing those little things along with some big strategic things.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's you've got a lot of alliances in nearby sectors, if you like. We're talking about speakers for the books and how to promote it. It's all wonderful content. Now, when somebody first approaches you, Cathy, is there an application process, and how do you know who you're going to choose to work with?
That's a great question. Typically, I schedule a strategy session with someone to begin with. And I ask them all sorts of questions, like, how long have you been thinking about this? Tell me about your business, because I want to know about the business and how they're linking their book to their business. If they don't have a clear link, then it's probably not a good fit. I ask about their love of writing or their hate of writing.
Their lack of love.
Yes. So I want to know, what is their relationship with writing? I want to know what their goal is. I want to know what's driving them to write this book. And what I tend to find are the most successful folks are, I've just booked this big speaking engagement, or this big opportunity in 2020. It's in May. I need to have a book. I'm losing money if I don't have a book. I love to work with those kinds of folks.
Yeah, because they're very driven.
They have a clear message.
Yep.
They have the platform, the audience to buy their book, and they just need to write the right book.
Yes, thank you so much. Everybody who's on the call today will be making the links back to Cathy and her services. Now, Cathy, one of the most important questions of today's call is, when people want to work with you, where are they going to go?
Oh, great. Well, you can come to my webpage. My website is cathyfyock.com. The only thing hard about that is, how do you spell Cathy Fyock? And it's Cathy, and then the last name is Fyock, F as in Frank, Y-O-C-K. So cathyfyock.com, or you can shoot me an email at cathy@cathyfyock.com.
And I'm going to make it very easy for everybody. It's just going to be a click of a button below this post. Make sure you reach out to Cathy. I'm pretty confident this is a wonderful service. 150 plus clients thus far is proving a point that books should be used as a visible strategy to help grow your business. Cathy, thank you so very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.